duration, or is it really at a policy level very directed to TIF in terms of its TIF duration?
The duration will be just 25 years. The state legislature had changed the TIF law and is now capped that at 25 years. If we go beyond that, we have to reset the value at whatever period we set it at. So we're probably not going to do that in increment. The Radisson TIF you mentioned, that one I think went off about 5 years ago, and so that's back on the tax roll. That's probably a $10 million value. The other one that's actually ending this year is the one with the Dakota Bank building. I think that's a $20 million value that's going back on the general tax roll as that one expires, and the debt is off on Anna Park Grant. The legislature made one exception in the 25-year cap, and that was for TIF districts that had existing debt. And now that that debt has been paid off, that one will also end.
And how long is the TIF we're talking about on this?
Could be 25 years. So, and it'll start, this year, and so really the first 2 years you're in construction, you don't have that much increment, so the bulk of the increment comes in over about a 23-year period.
And if the value does actually exceed the projected increment now, the assumption is that it will terminate early, or will it run through the duration of the duration?
I anticipate this would run through the duration. The only exception would be is if, the mill levies went back up to where they were 10 years ago, and the values were much higher than expected. Once that 15, we would have enough money to pay out that $15 million in debt, and it would end. So it could end at 12 years. Value came in a lot higher.
Any other questions? Okay, you.
Well, I had just a question on something that not clarified in the past. All of the parts and pieces of this project are color coded, with the exception of the piece on the top is gray. Is that a usable facility, or is that a storage area, or is that committed to the project, or is that set aside? What's the status of how that's being utilized?
Maybe I might address that in the architectural.
Yes. So the gray part in that diagram is just a screening for equipment that will get out of the road. So there's no usable space there.
Thank you.
But Mike, nobody's going to be taller and look down.
What's that?
Nobody's going to be taller than it to look down.
Yeah, they don't it'll be.
We're kind of hoping we can work with them. As you know, the Fargo housing high-rise, we have a lot of our emergency communications towers on that, and if that building isn't going to be there, then maybe we get some road space rented here early.
Not a helicopter pad.
No.
So Mike, do you have anything that you want to say? Do you think we haven't talked about and would like to share, or do you think we're, I mean, as far as from your perspective, do you think we're, and did anybody else, do you have questions of Mike? Now's the time, so.
Yeah, I myself, I think, an accurate summary for the project and how we're proposing it, and how the partnership is looking at putting the project together.
I'll just, my perspective is, this is a once in a, well, probably a generation project. It's a local corporation that we want to keep here, and we're in competition with lots of towns, not just locally, Fargo. We compete with Moorhead and West Fargo, but Grand Forks, Sioux Falls, Winnipeg, Minneapolis, and we need to be actively pursuing economic development. That's part of our little job as city commissioners and a mayor. We want this town to continue to economically thrive, and so I know this is a big decision, and so I'm hesitant. Whatever the group wants to act is fine with me. But to me, when we're literally going right through the policy change at the same time, I would feel a lot more comfortable if you put it on our shoulders, the city commission and the mayor, just because it's such a unique situation and a unique project. So that's just my opinion. I would love to hear if anybody else wants to do something different. I'm willing to listen. Okay.
Just a point of clarification on previous actions that this committee has taken. On the union storage project, this committee favored granting the standard from the apartments and none on the retail commission actually approved on both the apartments. Woodrow Wilson project, if I'm not mistaken, they're kind of based on what happened.
So essentially the same thing.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, I just want to thank the group who worked so hard on it. I know we're on a conference call today, so tucking it in. And I want to thank everybody that's worked on it to get this project moving forward. And I think Dave and I have heard about this project for several years now, never knowing it would finally come before us. So I want to thank everybody that's involved. And I know, Jim, it's a little difficult to park the ramp and how we're going to do that, but the point that I take out of it is that with the guarantees we have set forth, the city of Fargo will not have to make up the shortfall. And the difference between us and the Robert Street project is the Robert Street project, if we're short on parking revenue, we have to make up for it out of the general fund.
Right.
So this has to be less nightmares or headaches than the other projects because it basically is the owner's guarantee. And with commodity prices the way they are, we're glad to continue to take this risk. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Any other preference on the direction we take? Once again, I'd prefer to just have us go, take no action and refer it on to the city commission. But if you, and Mr. Mayor, you're kind of, and you're on this committee, so if you want to make the motion, you can say, you can do that if you wish, but.
Well, I know you've done exemptions before, so I don't know, it's sometimes nice to have this committee weigh in on it, just for the commissioners to do that, because you want to relay it, because the policy doesn't drive that.
And we did have a moratorium, but we had been doing some, we had been approving them in the meantime. So that's been going on too, you know, so I guess whatever is the pleasure of the group is what I'd like to do, but it's a unique situation, it's a unique project, but at the same time, we're setting precedent when we take action, so. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm a little hesitant here, but I can agree with the two sides of either taking action or not taking action. And not taking action doesn't really fit me very well sometimes. So I think echoing what you said, Dave, I mean, the city's had this land there for a long time. We solicited proposals for it, it's taken years to get to this point. I think this is exactly the type of project that we should support and continue to support, even though it doesn't meet the current policy, it would fit with proposed policies. I do think the benefits of knowing that REO is going to be in downtown Fargo has substantial benefits. And so for that reason, I would move to approve the pilot as it's presented.
If we keep voting.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Any further discussion? Well, I guess first, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Now we can have further discussion. And anybody that wants to add anything, love to hear.
So as a matter of question, the motion is for the approval of the pilot that's proposed.
Any other questions or discussion?
Dave, just brings for the audience, just Brock's position on this committee, is he a voting member?
No.
We just talked about that, whether the school ought to be involved, and you've always sat on this committee.
And I also want to thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and we want to have the county involved in it too. And so I do think that's a great thing. We want to be open and do more as far as informational and things like that. So, and I really appreciate you being here, because sometimes you don't always get everything, the full flavor of things, just by summaries and emails and things like that. So I do think that if we've learned a few things that we you know, that we want to be good partners because we're all in it together, and so communications.
Well, you'd say Brock, the school has benefited by the economic growth the city has had, and has brought increased taxes to the school.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I think any economic development for the city is good for the school district. I think it's good for the city as a whole. I mean, there's always going to be the question about when do you get that benefit, but certainly how we certify the revenue we get from the county is a little unique in that we're certifying a dollar amount, and that dollar amount once the county approves that dollar amount, that's what we're going to see, and that's benefited by not only residential growth, but certainly commercial growth. And we want to be good partners, and we've got a great relationship with all the entities that are represented here, and we want to continue to do that. I really echo what Commissioner Brown said, we're all in this together, whether that's commercial development, residential development, partnership, part of district, all taxing entities. We're all really working on behalf of one taxpayer. I think that's important to keep in mind, and we want to be a good partner there. So.
Another question on the motion that's been made. What is the pilot schedule, Jim? Do we have that? There's nothing in that in the application that I saw here. Is this like 100% for 15 years? Is there staggered or different percentages?
It would be 100% exemption, so they would strictly just continue to pay on the land for years 6 through 20. But again, the pilot is only on the revenue producing things. The pilot does not go to the condo.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, this is a big one. I found out 30 seconds into the meeting that I'm looking at. So, yeah. So, no, just stepping up to the table today, it is kind of curious that this committee does have a policy. We all know that they're being revised. It's not complete yet. Mayor, you mentioned that there were 5 or 6 other, maybe not similar, but somewhat similar applications that weren't consistent with the policy that have been approved. So that this isn't stepping completely outside the box. But other than Union Storage and what were the others?
Woodrow Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson, the Black Building, Cityscapes, or I can think of from the downtown. I think we've probably varied the policy a little bit on some of the economic development guidelines over the years too. But it's always good to revisit these policies and get more in sync with our actions versus our written policies.
Jim, do you have some more comments?
No, I think I'm done.
All right, I think we're ready for, we have a motion and a second. I think we're ready to call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Very good, thank you very much. Now, Ben, what is this, agenda item number 2? Not to rush you, but.
Okay, this is a pilot that was granted on a low-income housing tax credit project back in 2004. And they are several years into it, obviously. There's 3 years remaining on the pilot. It was granted when the mill levies were considerably higher than they are now. And their pilot payment currently is actually higher than the tax levy. And they are requesting out of the pilot. Now, and
Then, while you're handing that out, so is this, if we approve this, let's say, would we be setting a precedent and we'd be seeing other requests similar to that?
very likely, yes.
And and I guess maybe this could be a request for the future, but maybe we could get some kind of a spreadsheet to see what the economic impact would be of that, if that happened.
If you look at the schedule on the back on this particular scenario, the pilot payment for low-income housing tax credit projects is set at the equivalent of valuing the property on a gross rent multiplier of 5.5 times gross. And you can see the mill levies on like the third column, what's happened. When it was granted, the mill levy was 484. Today, the net mill levy with a 12% discount is 200%. So if you look all the way over to the right, you can see what the average benefit they received. In the early stages, it was the equivalent of about a 32%. Today, they're actually paying 10% more than what the tax would be if it were levied. So if you look at the effective average benefit up to 2015, it started out at 32%. Well, it's averaged out now over that term to be at 13%. It would end up being 5 if we don't agree to let them out of the pilot. So I guess philosophically, it's to consider they've got quite a bit of benefit. You can actually see the dollar amounts of benefit up through 2015. Their average accumulated benefit was about $227,000 over the term. And it would still, if they stayed in the pilot, they would still have received $151,000 benefit. So, it's like I say, it's philosophically, do we say you got a benefit? And we're all kind of at risk here. In this case, mill levies went down, but would the city renegotiate the pilot payment if mill levies went back up again? You know, so.
What's just the thing Biddy was getting into is to make sure your distance is going along. So it seems like as you go along here, they lose benefits, the city does better, right? I mean, if you take it away, then they pay less. Do we get more in revenue than them? I mean, do we get the 119,000 is or 96,000 is tax?
Well, the pilot is distributed like the tax, so what, if you let them, the pilot plus tax and the potential taxes due are the differences.